The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Been a lot of strains lost to the ages, man.
Yeah. Good morning, you guys, man. Big day today going on. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait to see what happens today at 1:30. But you know what I'm saying? It's gonna definitely be interesting. You know, and I can't wait to see what all of my liberal friends have to say today. Because after Trump does this, they're not going to have a lot to be able to say. But, you know, nonetheless. Good morning. It is Thursday, December 18th, and today is National Answer the Telephone Like Buddy the Elf Day today, you guys.
I don't know what that one was.
Buddy the Elf? Do you know? You don't know? I was hoping one of you guys
Buddy
knew
the
who.
Elf.
Yeah.
I just didn't hear you. My bad.
Buddy the Elf. So you do know who Buddy the Elf is then?
Yeah, he knows Santa.
He knows Santa.
Doesn't he? Buddy the Elf? Am I thinking of somebody else?
I don't
You're
know.
thinking of the movie Elf. I mean, this is Will Ferrell Elf, right?
That's what I was thinking.
That's what
How does he
what I
answer?
would guess. I never watched the movie, so I don't know the character.
Santa. I know him.
What does his voice sound like?
Will Ferrell? You never heard Will Ferrell?
I mean, not doing
like
an elf
Jason
voice.
when he does his voice, right?
Answer the phone like Will Ferrell Day. That's what it is.
Oh boy.
Wah, wah.
Well, it's also National Twin Day. Stone, you're lucky you don't have a twin, because then you'd have competition.
Yeah, exactly. I ate him in the womb.
Oh, I bet. You know what I'm saying? I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all, at one bit. It's also National Roast Suckling Pig Day.
Wow.
Yeah. Put a fork in it.
Not a lot of meat on it, though.
Not a lot of meat. I see what you did there, Dale. I see what you did there. I do see what you did there. Well, and let me see. We got one other thing today too, you guys. You guys are ready. Today is also National Re-Gifting Day. Do you re-gift?
You know. Doesn't everybody?
See,
So that's right before Christmas versus right after?
right before, it's basically how I envision it is like you're supposed to like clean out your closet, you know what I'm saying, and then, you know, find the stuff that you don't need and like, oh, you know what, this would make a great gift for so and so, boom, there, then you have it.
You know what? Thank you for contextualizing it. That makes a weirdly good amount of sense. All right.
That's what I
National
do. That's what I
Regifting
do
Day.
every day. That's what
It's
I do
on.
every day, Nate. It's
It's
what I'm
on,
here
man.
for. I'm here to bring sense to the masses because we all know they need it.
Is it also Jason is now standing behind Schedule 3 Day? What's happening?
Somewhat, yeah.
Wow.
A little bit.
Weird.
But there's a reason. There's a reason behind that, Stone. There's a reason behind that because when he makes this announcement, he's also going to make an announcement for a descheduling committee. Yeah, and so this plays all into my whole thing of, so basically what's going to happen is Trump is going to move to reschedule, okay, and then they're going to see all the nuances between now and the election as far as all the things of why Schedule 3 isn't really going to work for how everything is set up, and then on the October surprise, right before the midterm elections, he's going to deschedule cannabis. That's the play. That's the political play right there, Stone.
That would be amazing.
That is
somebody writing this down, because I want to. We need to check in on these facts, but I do think that that's a very optimistic way that things could go, Jason.
I understand why you say
that optimism fully.
I understand why you say it's optimism, but I'm just telling you just what it is. Because
like I said, I stand behind that fully, bro. That is a beautiful thought.
Falls apart as soon as the first shot's fired. So good luck with that.
Say that again, Dale.
Every battle plan falls apart as soon as the first shot is fired. Oh,
I've heard that saying before,
plan, but I don't think it's going to get through.
We'll see. We'll see. You know what? And on that, my second story today is going to touch on that, Dale. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And I do want to remind everybody to make sure that you are following us on X and Rumble, because YouTube is not a stable platform. It's a little, you know what I'm saying, a little wonky sometimes. But
it's got a psychiatric diagnosis, right?
Yeah. It's got that purple hair, don't care kind of syndrome. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna jump right into this, because we have a lot to talk about today, because the boss, Mr. President Trump, is expected to sign an order to reclassify cannabis as a Schedule 3 drug, sources say today at a press conference at 1:30 p.m. President Trump is expected to sign an executive order on Thursday that would reschedule cannabis to a lower drug classification, according to two sources familiar with the planning, in one of the most significant changes to drug policy in decades. One source cautioned that while the plan is for the order to be signed on Thursday, the timing could shift, possibly to maybe 4:20 in the afternoon. The order is expected to reclassify cannabis from a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 3 drug, according to the Drug Enforcement Administration. Schedule 1 applies to substances with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse, and the agency's most stringent classification, which is also for heroin and LSD and ecstasy, in addition to cannabis. The DEA uses Schedule 3 for substances with a moderate to low potential for physical or psychological dependence. Other Schedule 3 drugs include Tylenol with codeine, testosterone, anabolic steroids, and ketamine. Moving the drug to a lower schedule would not change the fact that it remains illegal for adult use at the federal level, but it could open the door for more research into marijuana and expand medical uses. It might also lower the tax burden for state-licensed marijuana dispensaries in the dozens of states that have legalized the drug. And since federal law bars businesses that sell Schedule 1 substances from taking some tax deductions, President Trump said on Monday that he is considering moving cannabis to a different schedule because there are tremendous amounts of research that can be done unless you reclassify. Rescheduling will help accelerate research, reduce stigma, attract new investment, and ease some of the tax burdens that have held the industry back. The next transformation will happen when interstate commerce barriers between states are removed, said Vince C. Ning, the CEO and co-founder of cannabis wholesale platforms Cannabis. You guys all thought that was Trump. I saw that. But nonetheless, CNN first reported that the executive order is planned for Thursday, and the president said during his campaign last year that he does believe that cannabis should instead be a Schedule 3 drug. The Biden-era Department of Health and Human Services also recommended bumping marijuana down to Schedule 3, and the Justice Department, the DEA's parent agency, proposed a rule to reschedule cannabis last year, but the process became marauded in over a year of legal and administrative wrangling, leaving the drug Schedule 1 status. Sleepy Joe Biden just couldn't get it over the hump. But cannabis has been deemed a Schedule I drug since the classification system was created in 1970. And in recent years, however, most states have approved the drug for certain medical uses, and 24 states have legalized the drug for adult use purposes. These state policies technically clash with federal law, but the federal government has opted against cracking down on cannabis businesses that are licensed by states. Some members of both parties have backed looser federal marijuana restrictions and often pointing to potential medical benefits. And polling shows that Americans are increasingly supportive of legalizing medical or adult uses of cannabis. And during the 2024 campaign, President Trump said he planned to vote yes on an unsuccessful Florida ballot measure to legalize cannabis for adult use purposes in the state. But the measure drew just under 56% of the vote, falling short of the 60% threshold needed to pass. And in a quote says, "I believe it is time to end the needless arrests and incarcerations of adults for small amounts of marijuana for personal use. We must also implement smart regulations while providing access for adults to safe, tested product," the president wrote on Truth Social last year. But some lawmakers remain wary, and a group of 22 Republican senators penned an open letter to President Trump on Wednesday, urging him to leave cannabis in the Schedule I category, pointing to health concerns along with worries about intoxicated driving and worker absenteeism. In a quote, "We cannot reindustrialize America if we encourage marijuana use," the lawmakers wrote. "In light of the documented dangers of marijuana, facilitating the growth of the marijuana industry is at odds with growing our economy and encouraging healthy lifestyles for Americans." A group of 9 Republicans penned a letter over the summer urging Attorney General Pam Bondi not to shift cannabis to a lower schedule, urging there is no adequate science or data to support the change. And meanwhile, marijuana, while different than heroin, still has the potential for abuse and has no scientifically proven medical value, the letter states. Therefore, rescheduling marijuana would not only be objectively wrong, but it would also imply to our children that marijuana is safe. And that couldn't be further from the truth. CBS News has reached out to the White House for comment on the expected executive order. Well. 1:30 press hearing today. Trump's going to put together an executive order to reschedule cannabis. That's what everybody's saying and talking about. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I don't think he can do it.
Dale, that's going to be in the next story, Dale. We're going to talk about all that because I have a legal opinion on why he can do it, and I can't wait to hear your feedback on it. And I'm not sure if I agree with it either, just so you know, but nonetheless, it is a legal opinion. But as we all know, opinions are like assholes because everybody has one. But I wonder, are legal opinions like better assholes?
Well,
looser assholes.
There's a lot of attorneys I know that are full of shit to their eyeballs. So we take it at that level, okay? And I think, to quote Marcus Aurelius, the opinions of 10,000 men are worthless. They know nothing on the subject. So if you know what you're talking about and you qualify as an expert, perhaps your legal opinion is important. Otherwise, you're just full of shit and projecting your own thoughts on other people. Right now, Congress, when they passed the Controlled Substances Act and set up these administrative agencies, set up a process to deschedule or reschedule. And I don't think the president can do that by executive order. He can start the process. But what we watched in the Biden administration, the DEA stuck their foot out and tripped every effort to try and reschedule this. And all the people who signed on for the amicus brief fight the gun case, the Amani case, which I'm going to go over in my story, you can bet your ass they're going to be filing in federal court to stop this.
Well, that's the whole thing too, Dale, is because if he does move it to Schedule III, that takes away their whole argument on everything right there.
No, it doesn't. How does it do that?
It takes away their whole argument because their argument in the amicus is stating that it's a Schedule I drug and therefore you shouldn't have gun rights because it's a Schedule I drug. So if it goes to Schedule III, it totally changes their whole argument in their amicus.
Well, only one part of it, and we'll talk about that later.
That's a big part.
Okay. Well, it's a big part of horse shit they're trying to shovel.
It's a huge part. Oh well.
It just seems like another dangle the carrot bullshit. And the word and with everything he's got going on, I think it takes us the words of the three amigos. Look up here. Look up here.
Oh, you're funny.
They're trying to distract right now is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And we'll see if this ever comes to fruition. Hopefully we're not just stuck in the Schedule 3 after he reschedules.
Well, if you're into sports betting, don't place a large bet on it. Let me just tell you that.
Interesting.
But since Jimmy Carter, we really haven't had real honest discussions. Carter was going to reschedule this until his drug czar Peter Bourne got caught snorting coke with the normal guys, and you know, it sort of went off the cliff. It's good to have it part of the discussion, because now we're having conservatives, liberals, and people in the middle, Democrats, Republicans, all using the term, trying to justify their positions. Okay, now can we figure out from there what to do with it? Because if you don't think alcohol's a problem for you, your children, for society, then you're smoking crack.
Yeah.
But we figured out you can't stop people from using it. So we went to the other side and just said, let's try to, you know, keep this as safe as we can for society. We need to get cannabis to that point too. How we get there, what the path is, I don't know. But my argument is need to be treated more like alcohol. And there's a bunch of Republicans in the Congress going, hey, if you can drink alcohol and have a gun, why in the hell can't you smoke pot and have a gun?
Exactly.
Okay, come on. I think that's where most people are. Is cannabis safe for small children? Fuck no. Don't let your kids use this shit unless it's medically supervised, okay? But that's the same with alcohol. If you're 21, you can go buy alcohol. If you're 18, you can buy cigarettes. Are cigarettes safe for you? Fuck no.
You know.
Okay? But we can't stop people from smoking, so we have to accommodate this, because whatever the law says, the de jure part of this, the de facto is people are going to smoke pot, they're going to smoke tobacco, they're going to drink. So if you're going to try to make it illegal, you better build more prisons or accommodate this stuff.
You know what I wonder about this? I wonder if after he does this, how many people, this is going to be an interesting number for some of these pollsters to check out, how many people switch from either being an MPP voter, an AI voter, or a Democrat voter, switch to actually being a Republican after Trump moves it to Schedule 3. Because he will have made more progress on cannabis than any other president within our lifetime. And I know all the Democrats hate that more than anything. It makes them make their skin crawl and whatnot. But the reality is the Republican Party is getting cooler and cooler every day. And just saying.
Says who?
Just the facts, Dale. Just the facts, bro. Just the facts.
Well, what facts?
The Republicans are growing on this issue. Republicans are the ones that are making progress on this issue.
They're also the ones fighting it the most. What are you talking about?
Hey, we're reforming from within, Stone. You know what I'm saying? We're reforming from within.
Just stop.
That's projecting.
You know,
the biggest group of voters out there are the uncommitted, in the middle. They don't like either side. They think both sides are full of shit.
If you look at the numbers, that's actually they're not the largest. If you look at the actual numbers, they're not the largest.
No. You take a look at the last election. Largest numbers were in the middle, and they didn't like either side.
Well, I don't agree with that, but I do agree with Stone is that the middle voters are super important, is because that is what needs to shift to go to either side, to put either side over the top. Now that part is true, and so, but I think the Republican Party is going to see a surge in growth after this rescheduling move today.
The self contradiction might be. The self-contradiction might be a little real, though.
The most is that smoking pot is not the biggest problem faced by the average Marion Joe.
I totally agree with that. Dale. I totally agree with that.
I don't see that. Even if you go, oh, we're going to make it legal, we're going to all the stuff we wanted to do. I don't think that's really going to sway the American public. They're looking at their check at the end of the month going, holy fuck.
A lot of people are doing that, but they're like, hey, at least I can go and, you know what I'm saying, get some weed without having to worry about X, Y, and Z. Just saying. It's, it's like a constellation prize, Dale.
A consolation prize?
Yeah. What were you saying, Nate?
I wanted to comment that there was, and a couple of, I want to say New York Times, but I'm looking at Fox News right here, released a similar story yesterday, which is a major cannabis study finds little proof for popular medical claims and flags big dangers. I do hear you on what you're saying.
I'm covering that.
I'm reading this as a headline off Fox News. No,
I understand that. I'm going to be covering that story tomorrow, Nate. That's already in the queue for tomorrow. Yes.
Let me just warm that up though by suggesting that this, not exactly Democrat, run, news media outlet is commenting on this in essential contradiction to what the story is that you just dropped.
Well, the reality. Hold on, Nate. Let me point something out. The people that actually own Fox News are not Republicans. So you can't say that it's a Republican run.
Can we make a story about that? Because I don't think their base is aware of that. Next you're going to tell me something ridiculous like OAN is based out of San Diego.
OAN is based out of San Diego and is actually run by real Republicans, and so is Newsmax. But Fox is not. Fox is not.
They hate Newsom, but they got to live under him, right? I get it. It
is what
contradiction.
Let me tell you something, bro. I'm not a fan of Newsom or any of his policies, but I'm not moving out of California. I'm here to fight for it. I'm here to make California golden again.
It's I would.
Yeah, we're making.
I retain that it is not the show.
Just saying, you guys. Well, this was a fun story, and we're going to be talking about this more for days on end. The Stone, the smile on your face, Stone, just says it all to me.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one.
I love it. On that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back. Stone's having to. He's like, oh, I need a dose of reality because, oh man, the greatest president in the world is about to reschedule cannabis, and oh man, I'm gonna have to turn to a Republican now. I'm gonna be out here in Texas and da 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 da. That's.
Stop it. Who's next? Hey, we got Dale next.
I got one more story next. This is a story. This is especially for you, Dale. And I'm not sure if I agree with this or not. I haven't made my decision yet, but maybe by the end of the story I will. And they say, this was written by Ashley Mitchell, and she's a law student and a dispensary manager. Just to give you some context, okay, Dale? All right. She says, why a Trump executive order on cannabis rescheduling would withstand legal scrutiny. Okay. President Donald J. Trump is expected to issue an executive order directing the Department of Justice to finalize the federal rescheduling of marijuana, a move that has prompted questions about whether such an approach is legally sound. From a legal perspective, however, this pathway is not only defensible, but firmly grounded in existing statutory authority and administrative practice. The Controlled Substances Act gives the Attorney General and, by delegation, the Drug Enforcement Administration the authority to add, remove, or transfer substances between schedules. That process is not legislative in nature, and it is administrative. While the president cannot unilaterally rewrite the statute, he can direct executive agencies to prioritize, complete, or accelerate actions already authorized by law. An executive order that instructs the DOJ to issue a final rule on rescheduling fits squarely within that framework. And importantly, this would not represent the start of a new process. The rescheduling review was initiated under the prior administration and has already moved through several procedural stages. An executive order directing the DOJ under Attorney General Pam Bondi to complete the review would be more accurately characterized as a continuity of executive action rather than a circumvention of law. Interesting. Courts have historically been differential when an administration completes or modifies regulatory actions that were lawfully began by its predecessor, and concerns about legality often hinge on the misconception that rescheduling by executive action bypasses Congress. In reality, Congress delegated this authority decades ago when it enacted enacted the Controlled Substances Act. That delegation has been repeatedly upheld by federal courts, including in cases involving controversial or politically sensitive substances. And as long as the agency follows required procedures, including notice, justification, and reliance on scientific and medical evaluation, the action is well insulated from legal challenge. From an administrative law standpoint, directing an agency to finalize a rule already in progress may actually reduce litigation risk. Abandoning or reversing the process would likely invite challenges under the Administrative Procedure Act, and particularly if that record already supports rescheduling. Moving forward, by contrast, aligns agency actions with the existing evidentiary record. And critics may argue that rescheduling, they should just call them Democrats, may argue that rescheduling should be left to Congress, but that is a policy argument, not a legal one. And Congress chose this system, and presidents of both parties have used executive authority to shape drug scheduling outcomes. In that context, a Trump executive order directing the DOJ to finalize rescheduling is not an overreach, and it is an exercise of authority explicitly contemplated by federal law. And if implemented carefully, this approach would likely take effect quickly and withstand judicial review, providing regulatory clarity while remaining within the bounds of established legal precedent. Well, I happen to think that this law student did a phenomenal job on this piece, and I totally agree exactly with this. I was a little skeptical at first, but now that I've gone through this whole article, I totally agree with her analysis 100% of the way. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, let me tell you what I was taught as I was a brand new attorney. That brand new lawyers have a bald spot in the back of their head and a big lump on their forehead, where old fuckers like me grab them by the back of their hair and slam their head against the table. This girl, she's a law student, okay, which tells me she doesn't understand what we call the de facto reality of the life, okay, because the DEA is going to trip everything they can up here along the way. That's the de facto. Yeah, and what I have said all along is Trump cannot reschedule or deschedule by executive order. Okay?
This article agrees with that. This article agrees with that.
Because Congress put in place an administrative process where you have to produce evidence, have a hearing. It's based on administrative law, okay? And then that can be challenged in appellate courts. Which I expect to do. And if they check off all the boxes doing that, they can sustain their actions before the federal courts. I agree with that. But the bold statement that this can all proceed ignores the reality, what we call the de facto, what's happening on the ground. The DEA's prohibitionists, the laundry list of groups I'm going to mention in my story, they are going to shit Twinkies if you try to push this through without jumping through every administrative hoop. Okay, so yeah, he can start the process or say, pick up where you left off and let's Pam bond you, let's move forward, check off the hearing boxes, evidence goes forward, blah, blah, blah. And he can do that. But that's just the beginning of the process. And it's like along the way, expect Patrick Mahomes to tear his ACL or somebody to get knocked out or something along the way, and the game goes the other way because people are deeply ingrained in not wanting this to happen. They have money, and they're going to fight this every chance they get. I don't like it, but I think that's a reality of what's coming. And kudos to this girl, or this young lady, the law student, but be careful what comes out of your mouth because old farts like me will knock your head against the table.
Yeah, get it, Dale.
I had mine knocked against the table. That's how I learned.
That's how you learn. That's right. That's how you learn. I do happen to agree with her that the only way that he can do this through executive order is through a directive to these different departments. And so I do agree with that analysis and that strategy. And and I'll tell you what, if Trump tells them, hey, you're going to do this, guess what? They're going to do it. Or you know what he's going to tell them, Dale? You're fired.
You're fired.
Yeah. He's done that before. What do you guys say, Stone? What do you think?
You're muted.
You're on mute, Stone. You're on mute, buddy. Yeah, exactly.
I was trying to read your lips, dude.
Yeah.
I just said all the good shit, and I don't remember what I said. So now where do we go?
Oh,
good read, right?
Really, I don't have much to say. I mean, if Congress gave that power to the executive branch decades ago.
They did.
Let's use it. Why aren't we using it? But I don't know. We'll see. I'm trusting what Dale said a little bit more than the law school girl.
I mean, Dale didn't really say. Dale didn't really say much that she didn't already say, though. You know what I mean? Other than as far as the application that people are going to try to fight this and whatnot. And of course, there's going to be the naysayers. We've already seen Kevin Sabet come out against this on a few different times, and there'll be some other people. But at the same time, I think we all have to remember too that the Speaker of the House, you know, on their phone call was like, hey, you know what? You know, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I'm not going to get into a fight with the president over this issue because it's not my hill to die on. And so I think a lot of people, although they may not agree with it, they're not gonna decide to, you know what I'm saying, Cory Booker it and die on that hill saying, hey, you know what, we're not doing any safe banking unless there's some social equity in place for here and da 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 da, and that's why we still don't have safe banking today, is all because of him wanting to die on that hill. And I don't think there any of the Republicans are going to die on that hill in that matter and go against the president.
He does have that going for him.
Just saying. Look at that, Stone. Look at that. Look at that. More than any other president. Mm-hmm. He has that going for him for sure. Like I said.
See, that's another part of the de facto here. I'm sorry, Nate. Let me just get this point. That's another part of the de facto. Because this girl was taking a law school exam, okay? And you want you to tick off what the law says, blah, spot the issue. But when you walk into a courtroom and you deal with the realities, Donald Trump can call up Bobby Kennedy and say, Bobby, I want you to check the box. You can call up the DOJ and say, Pam, check the box. Okay? I'm not fucking around with this stuff. I want this to go with alacrity.
Yep.
You can do that. Okay? Yep. Now, there's other things in the mix now. I mean, as you know, there's this problem with Obamacare expiring, stuff like that. The economy and the eyes of people's in the toilet. At what point, you know, do you have to turn your guns on some other issue and this one falls off? That's the de facto part of this. These law students, and I've trained a bunch of them, and I know it's like, I don't care what the fucking law says. I care what witnesses are going to say and what the people opposing you are going to pull.
You know, that's a fair. There could be a lot of these groups that do throw up some different smoke screens and some other different types of obstacles that they're going to have to navigate through. But I think they're just going to push it through because I think they're going to be able to say, hey, you know what, we already had these hearings, da 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 da, and they can just push it through their department and just boom, let's just get it done, over with. Like ripping off a Band-Aid, it's better to rip it off fast than to do the slow peel.
Yeah, but who's going to rip it off?
Pam Bondi and Bobby Kennedy. Bobby. Yeah.
Bobby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm anxiously awaiting to see what happens here because I lost all faith in the government being able to do anything right, decades ago.
Well, we already know that they're not doing the right thing because they're not descheduling, but this is at least a step in the right direction, and they're going to create a descheduling commission. So, like, we're making some progress. So I'm willing to pallet it, knowing that there's going to be a descheduling commission. I can pallet Schedule 3 on the basis of that.
Well, I said that about Prop 64 here in California.
I did too. I did too, Dale. I did too.
And we'll trust the government to fix this. Don't trust them to fix shit.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. It's not that I was trusting the government to fix it. I was trusting the cannabis industry to be able to actually lobby and actually get stuff done, and they're totally incapable of doing that because they're so discombobulated and so much infighting amongst all the different factions that they can't speak from one unified voice at all whatsoever. And a lot of these people need to grow the hell up.
If they want to save an industry, they better put their head together and figure out a strategy, or they're done.
Yep, exactly right. And on that, we are going to roll.
Sorry I cut you off, Nate. Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, go for it, Nate.
I can just give a quick summary of it. I like how normalized this is because even though I'm seeing conflicting opinions and regardless about what a lot of the room feels about Trump, it's normalized. If you check the stocks on cannabis this morning,
they're up.
They're actually super up. Like that hasn't happened in a long freaking time.
You guys better hurry up and sell.
And it's because this is normalizing it. Some random law student writing an article about it and then getting further amplified by something like this platform. F it, talk about it, normalize it. I like that. That's it. That's, I mean, maybe a further point to that we can make later, but the notion that it's getting normalized and that this is getting out there. You know what trended on Google this morning? What kind of drug is cannabis? because so much of the country is hearing the word cannabis for the first time instead of marijuana in the last 24 hours.
Oh, that's so good, right?
That's what just happened. Like, as a very objective kind of group think right there. That's kind of powerful. So I'm just an observer in that sense. That's
Fair
all.
enough. Fair enough. Well said, Nate. And Nate approves. You know what I'm saying? Nate apparently approves. And so on that, I guess it's all going to go through. Everything's going to happen now. But nonetheless, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. And Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, and they really are just really gross. You ever, you know what I'm saying, wet one of those leaves in a paper towel. But he is honest, and he's unconcerned with your opinion, public opinion, and anyone else that wants to identify as anything else, their opinion as well. And he will show you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right, it is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's Tio Loco and Jason's favorite full of shit.
Yeah.
Yes, my yesterday's story was about the government's response in the Hamani case. This is the can't have a gun while you use marijuana or even possess it. But I touched briefly upon what they call an amicus curiae brief, which was filed on Monday. This is called Friend of the Court. There's a laundry list of these prohibitionist organizations that started throwing mud, see if any of it'll stick. And I touched upon it yesterday, but I wanted to go into it a little bit more today because what they're doing is absolutely ridiculous. And there's logical thinking here, and especially lawyer logical thinking. And it's like, if you say something, give me the facts to back it up, or sit down and shut the fuck up. Okay, so here we go. This comes out of Marijuana Moment from Kyle Yeager, and this was from the 16th. But the headline is Marijuana Isn't Chill and is actually more dangerous than alcohol. Anti-legalization groups tell Supreme Court in brief for gun rights case. Now, let me see if I can give you a list of these knuckleheads. Here you go. We got Sam, which is, what is that?
Kevin Sabet, Project Sam, Smart Approaches to Marijuana.
Smart Approaches, yeah, smart. It's fucking dumb, but I can't. Anyway, we got Americans Against Legalizing Marijuana. Cannabis Industry Victims Educating Litigators. What the fuck is that? CADCA.
That's a great title.
Drug Watch International. Drug Free America Foundation. Save Our Society from Drugs. National Families in Action. 14 other groups. Okay. And they say stupid shit like cannabis has a relationship to violence. Please. 10 guys stoned are going to form a band. 10 guys drunk are going to have a fight. Stop it. And they also claim that there's clear evidence high potency marijuana causes psychosis, schizophrenia, severe mental illness. Causes it. Okay, that's the term they're using. They also say marijuana is strongly associated. Now they're backing up a little bit from causes to strongly associated with long-lasting mental illnesses. Marijuana is more dangerous than alcohol. Okay, when you stop using alcohol, mental health effects go away, but when you smoke pot, the mental health doesn't go away. I don't know where in the hell they pull this out of. Your ass ain't that big to hold this kind of nonsense. And their products are designed to addict users. That's their claim, that all these state legalization, they're getting together and designing these products to addict people to marijuana. And they also claim the common denominator in many instances, this is, stupid speak for I don't have a fucking clue what I'm talking about, but there's common denominator in many instances of gun violence, okay? Now, this caught my attention because I have had some heated headbutting sessions with psychiatrists, psychologists, California Medical Board over the association between cannabis and schizophrenia, or these dissociative disorders, these the serious ones where you think, you know, you're talking to the sun out there as you're staring at it because you're schizophrenic. Anyway, here's the problem that they don't have an answer for. Okay, my father-in-law was a psychiatrist. He did his training right after World War II. He was in the National Health Service in the 1950s. And what they were doing then was they were taking all the psychiatrists and asking, please tell us what you use to diagnose different conditions, okay, and how prevalent are they in the environment out there? How many people have this? What percentage of population? And how do you actually diagnose this? This is put into the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual number 1. Came out, I think, in like 1953. We're at the 5th version right now. One of the things they did was they tried their best to document out there what percentage of our population has schizophrenia or these dissociative disorders. How common are they? In the 1950s, people weren't smoking a lot of pot. I mean, there were some, but population was not using cannabis even close to the numbers we're using today. But if you look at the percentage of our population that gets these dissociative disorders, including schizophrenia, the numbers have not risen. Okay, so Stevie Wonder can see that you know, you don't have the proof to show that when people start using pot a lot more and these mental illnesses don't go up, don't tell me that smoking pot causes schizophrenia. Get the fuck out of here. And I have been that blunt with some of these dumbass psychiatrists trying to say stupid shit like that because the psychiatry is making money off of this. Okay? And anything they can make money off of, they don't want to kill the goose laying the golden egg. So, there was a time when they were trying to advance the theory that smoking pot caused all these adolescent problems and they were addicted. So I had it out with one of these shits. Okay, what percentage of your practice is referred by the courts because the kids got rich mommy and daddy and they opt treatment as opposed to going to juvenile hall? Okay, and it was goddamn near 100%. It's like, okay, so you're biased. No, I'm not. Bullshit. You're biased, and I would attack you if you were on the witness stand trying to give me an expert opinion because every nickel you make comes from this, you know, this place over here that doesn't want you to say bad things about it. Okay, so stop it. I don't buy it. Okay, now this is the place where the Controlled Substances Act put us. Okay, is that they put cannabis in Schedule 1, and we were told publicly by Richard Nixon, I'll be there till we can investigate it. Okay, wink, nod, which was a bold-faced lie. They had no intention to do anything other than keep it under wraps. Okay, you couldn't do any kind of studies that might show the medical benefits. And I don't know if you remember this, but back in the 1980s, a guy named Taskin from UCLA, his study showed that smoking weed was safer than breathing in LA. Holy shit, the DEA lost themselves and got no more funding. My point is that you could never do a study that showed the medical benefits of cannabis until recently. And now when we do, Sue Sisley showed that smoking weed helps treat PTSD. Well, you know, duh, we all know that, okay? But you had to go through all the hoops to prove it. There is a proven medical use for cannabis right now for PTSD. We also have Sativex from GW Pharmaceutical, which has jumped through the hoops. It's medically approved for things, okay? So to say that it has no medical value is a bold-faced lie. But to get to that point, we have to play all these stupid word games out there. Now, I would argue that these groups do not have any evidence that's academically vetted, that's provable, that especially has been double-blind tested, any of these claims they're making. I also point out that when you go into court and say something causes something, you'd better have the evidence, okay? And these people don't have the evidence. To say cannabis use causes schizophrenia is just a bold-faced, unsupported lie, okay? And so they think if they say it enough times, someone's going to believe it. But then you run into some asshole like me who says, okay, prove it. And they can't do it. Okay. That's the problem I have with all this stuff. Because, Nancy Reagan, as nice as she might have been, was raised by an alcoholic. So her idea was, don't touch anything. Okay, that's how we want to approach life. Okay, that's nonsensical. People figured out alcohol, marijuana, mushrooms, opium, ephedra. All this shit's been known for thousands of years. You can't just put the toothpaste back in the tube and pretend like nobody knows about these. So therefore, if it makes you feel good, don't do it, or you're going to ruin your life. Bullshit. We don't believe it. And then you hold it up to alcohol and tobacco, which are deadly, and say, oh, these are okay, but this one's not because it's going to ruin society. You lose credibility with the average person out there, because the average Mary and Joe Dokes knows somebody who smokes pot, either their parents or some cousin on their cousin walk or whatever. When you try to tell them something, they're looking around going, sorry, I don't see it. You can talk all you want. My eyes are not seeing this. You're losing them. Okay? So we're going to watch as this goes forward, and I'll be interested to see if we get things like these medical groups, the cannabis clinicians and groups like that will come forward with the actual studies, academically vetted information, actual expert evidence and testimony to counter this. I can go on because it pisses me off what these people are doing, but I can go on for hours. I'm going to shut up for a minute and let you guys talk. What do you guys think about this?
Well, Dale, again, I'm just going to go on to it again. I really am, you know what I'm saying? I'm really perplexed as to how the Justice Department is going to be able to argue their position once this goes to a Schedule 3. It's going to be very interesting, because to me, that is like the main basis of their whole justification of saying why cannabis consumers and people in the cannabis space should not have guns. And it really blows my mind that these Republicans are taking this stance when they're supposed to be so pro 2A all of the time and all about don't take my guns away and this and that. But yet you are actively advocating to take guns away from a particular class of people. And the Democrats are constantly always doing this all the time. And this is just so contradictory to your position and stand. And you can't be a hypocrite in that manner.
Well, but see, that's the de facto problem we face, is the hypocrites are everywhere.
They are. That is true.
What started in, William Randolph Hearst was probably the biggest trumpet against marijuana associated with Mexicans and, all this kind of stuff. That started in the early 1900s, and it grew over the years, and it's still embedded in people's emotional beliefs. Mm-hmm. And when you run up against somebody like that, there is nothing you can say. When people are entrenched in emotional beliefs, when you give them facts, they disregard them. They don't want to hear it. This is what my mama taught me. And unfortunately, I've met many people like that who are police chiefs, sheriffs, district attorneys, okay, or that are DEA agents. I mean, I had a lot to do with DEA agents. Those motherfuckers, they think this is going to end Western civilization like the apocalypse. Mm-hmm. What do you do with people like this? Because they're the ones that when you're not looking, they'll stick their foot out and trip you up.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. So exactly.
That when these groups walk in and say, smoking weed causes this, okay, my response is, all right, prove it.
Yeah.
And unless you're an expert, I don't give a shit what you have to say, okay? Mm-hmm. So this is an expert fight, and there's very few people that can really qualify as experts in the field of cannabis and cannabis medicine. And the ones that can, society tends to point to them, oh, you're just a bunch of hippie pot smokers who, spent time at the hog farm. We don't believe you.
Yeah.
Okay. You have no idea how many physicians smoke pot.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Just to represent them. It's like, yeah, they smoke weed.
Right.
They were just scared shitless to come out and say anything about it.
Yeah.
That's why Molly went to prison for 5 years. Mm-hmm. She told them, fuck you. I smoke pot, and I'm going to give people recommendations.
Yep. Kiss my ass. And we're going to keep this thing, you know what I'm saying, rolling. What do you think about this, Stone? You're in Texas, bro. Guns are a big thing in Texas. They got big guns out there.
Guns are a big thing, and that was one of the big arguments from the veterans during the when they were trying to ban the THC hemp THC here in Texas, was that we don't. The government's argument is you can join Teacup and be on that, and they're like, we don't want to join that. We don't want our name on a list where we're going to lose our guns. So I don't know. Like you, I'm very interested to see what happens. If what happens at 1:30 today is what we think is going to happen, it seems like this case seems like it'd become a baseless case.
Oh, it's happening. That's what I'm saying. I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's gonna default, and this will probably be the fastest oral arguments the Supreme Court's ever had on a case, because 90% of the whole the DOJ's case against this is going to be wiped out of existence. Then
but there's still the argument for as applied, and I mean, I would argue that if somebody is really a drug addict and they can't be trusted to do anything, have a hearing. Let's bring in evidence.
That's on an individual basis, Dale. It's on an individual, and I agree with that. The people that are out shitting their pants in the streets, you know what I'm saying, should not have guns. I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? I agree with that. Because they're going to do crazy shit.
To make it unconstitutional, or to say, oh, constitutionally, you can just pass a law so that everybody who does this is, you take your gun rights away. And if it goes to Schedule 3, as you said, it's like, okay, now you're just like someone who's got a prescription for Tylenol with codeine.
Exactly.
Take their guns rights away? No. You have to have a hearing.
Yep.
That person cannot be trusted with a weapon because they're using drugs. Have a hearing. And if we go, hey, this is like the drunkard law.
Yeah.
On Tombstone, you're out in the middle of the street shooting your guns in midnight, howling at the moon. You're drunkard and Hogan's goat. Listen, buddy, we're taking your guns away. Tell you to sober up at least. You
know what, Dale? I just had this thought, and I'm really wondering. Because we covered earlier in the week or yesterday, the other case, the David Boyce case, that was going to go to the Supreme Court, and the justices denied to hear that case. And I'm just wondering if they knew that the Schedule 3 announcement was going to be coming soon, so they decided. Well, hold on. So they decided to take the 2A case just to solidify that, because they knew that it would 100% strengthen the gun rights of Americans in the United States, right? But they didn't take this one because they're like, hey, we're going to wait and see it play out, because we know that it's going to go to Schedule 3, and then there's going to be a descheduling commission and da-da-da-da. So there may not be any point to us having to hear this case, because we're already going to live in the future with the October surprise being a reality of descheduling cannabis before the midterm election.
Well, if you think for a second there isn't a pipeline from Capitol Hill and the White House into the Supreme Court, you're smoking crack.
It's not a pipeline, Dale. It's actually an underground tunnel.
They're communicating, what's going on. Okay, and the Supreme Court's been highly politicized, much to my chagrin, for most of my, legal career. They're coordinating some stuff here, and the Republicans, or conservatives, if you will, control the court, so they can get pretty much what they want. Now, my goal is, let's get this thing clear out of the Controlled Substances Act and treat it like alcohol. If there's a multi-step path there, I'm happy. I'll do some of the carrying for it, throw it in my backpack. But stop talking about it and be prepared to butt heads with these prohibitionists who are going to try to stop it. Please, Donald Trump, fire them or kick their ass.
That's right, you're fired. Yeah. Dale, quick question. The word you used, chagrin, is that like a short abbreviation for shit-eating grin?
No, it's a negative feeling. You may feel negatively about eating shit. I don't know. But for me, it's like grin. It's like, oh my God, that's a bad feeling. I don't want to do that.
Oh man, what do you think, Nate? You gonna go to the gun store this week?
I'm thinking that this is the same. So the mental health argument against cannabis is like. So I'm going to take it in a slightly different direction. I'm so fucking insulted. Sorry for the bad language. That they're still throwing the mental health argument at us. Like, for real? Like, they thinking that like the oldest version of lying to the public about cannabis, and still trying that. Like throwing it out and not realizing, is this a chicken or the egg scenario for anybody just, wanting to help dive into Dale's argument about the statistics showing no change, which clearly has happened and has been proven to happen for decades now, is that people who suffer mental health crises generally would try anything trying to feel better. And those on a more healthy line of things find cannabis and say, holy crap, I can actually be functional again. Like, that is like a statistic that for some reason every one of these studies assumes that the average person like us is completely blind to. And I am so insulted every time I hear it. And this is the first time I've heard somebody throw that out in maybe a few months.
Yeah.
But so insulted. Like, really, guys? Like, to the communal, everybody here, everybody listening, everybody corresponding, you, Jason, like, do they really think we're that stupid?
They do. Well, first of all, you know what rule number 1 is, right?
Mother.
You know what rule number 1
What's
is?
that?
Rule number 1, people are stupid. Rule number 1.
Yeah. Rule number 1.
Oh,
yeah.
I detest that. I detest that projection of thought towards me.
It's just
and
true.
I will absolutely give these people the worst version of my regard if they think that I'm one of the people that should think that way. And maybe this is just me on some spectrum right here, thinking that everybody should think and talk like this. But no, F those people.
Yeah,
that's not me, and that's not my people. And I have witnessed cannabis, of course, you know, like anything else, being taken to versions of excess. And it's probably the 4th joint I've smoked so far on your show. So I'm cool. But everybody else who takes
I get it. Nate is having a tough day. All of a sudden, the Republicans are taking over the cannabis issue, and I get it. It's a tough day for you, Nate. I understand.
You know, I didn't even realize that could be happening. Thank you for pointing that out, bro.
It's all good.
Their real problem here, Nate, is the old nature versus nurture in mental illness. Okay. And since John Locke, you know, the principle of the tabula rasa, you're born with a blank slate. We look at traits through families, and if you've got a bunch of mental illness in your family, okay, was it the way you were raised, or is there something in your DNA that either causes it or makes you susceptible to it? Schizophrenia and these dissociative diseases tend to run through families. Okay, so is it nature? Is it nurture? And if it's nurture, then, okay, maybe there's an argument you shouldn't be smoking weed. But to Nate's point, I've had a bunch of clients and patients for Molly who were taking antipsychotic drugs, and the side effects were killing them. Okay? They found, hey, if I burn one, I can handle the side effects better. Okay, so what you do is you caution them. Don't you stop taking your antipsychotic until you go back to your psychiatrist. Okay, because if you stop taking your antipsychotic, and you know, now you're just being stupid, because weed is not a good antipsychotic. I don't think that it's ever been proven to do that. But these are the kinds of things that should be investigated, and psychiatrists should be willing to work with this. If you're using weed and it's not causing other problems and it's helping you with your antipsychotic and you'll stay on it, that's a win-win for everybody. Because, you know, we're going to get to learn some things about the Reiner family here pretty quick. There was something going on in that kid's head. And I tell you, he wasn't smoking weed when he did that, okay? So we're going to have to talk about mental illness here again and what happens. And trust me, he was not smoking weed when he decided to stab his parents.
I agree with that. I agree. But you know what was happening? You know what was happening, you know, the night before?
Well, he was probably tweaking.
They had dinner with the Obamas.
Problem.
Just saying.
We were at Conan O'Brien's party. Come on.
Just, you know what I'm saying? Love me a good little rabbit hole. And on that, we're gonna roll right into our next commercial. But I do want to remind everyone watching, want to thank you all for tuning in today. Please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, as well as make sure you're following us on X and Rumble, as YouTube can be a unstable platform from time to time. And if you ever can't find us, you can always find us on X and Rumble, because they truly care about free speech.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Trey. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't.
I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months.
I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me.
We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created.
Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees?
All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
Oh, man. How about that announcement yesterday? Everyone's like, oh, we're going to go to war with Venezuela. We're going to go to war with Venezuela. And just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that was a Saturday Night Live skit.
That was so good. Oh, that was so good. It was so good. It was so great. Oh, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know you'll appreciate it. We'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And again, please make sure you are following us on Rumble and X, as those are free speech platforms. There's zero censorship over there. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated. Oh, yes, and we are back. And we are going to roll right in to Texas, rolling right into Austin and right through all the red zone and smoking all the tumbleweed with Stone Slade. He is the man in Austin that has amazing hair and is often auditioning for roles in Grease. That's right, it is none other than the man himself, Mr. Stone Slade.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, there's like a million little versions of Grease I can audition for. So good. All right. I've got good news, actually. There's a lot of things that the powers that be have told us about cannabis over the years. Most of them involved warnings, and very few involved words like hope. New research published in the Frontiers in Pharmacology is showing that two of cannabis's most well-known compounds, THC and CBD, may work together to slow and in some cases kill ovarian cancer cells. And they do it without harming healthy cells. And that's the part that matters. Ovarian cancer remains one of the deadliest cancers affecting women. It's often diagnosed late. It comes back frequently. And many of the treatments that do exist are brutal on the body. Chemotherapy can work until it doesn't, and resistance is a constant problem. So researchers are looking for alternatives. And once again, cannabis is showing up where it wasn't invited and performing better than expected. In laboratory experiments, scientists tested CBD and THC on two different ovarian cancer cell lines. One of those lines responds to standard platinum-based chemotherapy. The other doesn't. Both were affected. Individually, THC and CBD slowed the cancer cell's ability to grow and reproduce. But when researchers combined them, especially in a 1-to-1 ratio, the results were far more dramatic. Cancer cells struggled to survive, failed to multiply, and in many cases began to die off. Even more interesting, healthy cells were largely unaffected. That's a big deal in cancer research, where collateral damage is often the price of treatment. The team also found that THC and CBD reduced the cancer cell's ability to migrate, meaning that many help stop the disease from spreading. And ovarian cancer metastasizes.
It's metastasizes or metastasis.
Metastasis is what we're looking for. Sorry. Serious story, too. Metastasis is often what turns a diagnosis into a death sentence. Now, to understand why this is happening, researchers looked at signaling a pathway called Pi3K ACT-mTOR. It's a frequency overactive in ovarian cancer and plays a role in tumor growth and treatment resistance. THC and CBD appeared to calm that pathway down, restoring a level of normal regulation and cutting off the cancer cell's survival signals. In plain English, the compound seemed to tell the cancer cells to stop behaving like cancer. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, and there will be some jumping, This study was done entirely in a lab, no animals, no humans, no dosing guidelines, no dispensary recommendations. The researchers are clear about that. This is an early stage science. It's promising, but it's not a prescription. Still, it adds to a growing body of evidence that cannabis compounds interact with cancer in ways we're only beginning to understand. And it raises an uncomfortable question we've been circling for years now. What if the plant we spent decades criminalizing actually has therapeutic value? We delayed not for scientific reasons, but for political ones. The author also points out that the regulatory and legal barriers could slow future research, maybe not, with the announcement coming up, which is another way of saying science doesn't operate in a vacuum. Policy still decides what gets funded, studied, and taken seriously. But studies like this are hard to ignore. THC and CBD didn't just slow cancer growth. They worked together, targeted cancer cells specifically, and left healthy cells mostly alone. That's the holy grail researchers chase every day. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean cannabis cures cancer. It does mean cannabis compounds deserve a seat at the research table, not whispered about, not dismissed, and not delayed by outdated stigma. If a future study confirms that what this one suggests, that seat may eventually come with a very real impact on how one of the deadliest cancers is treated. That's not hype. That's science doing what it's supposed to when we finally let it do it. I'm Stone Slade from the High at 9 News.
Look at that.
Man,
this is great news, Stone. Awesome. We got tons of great news. I love this.
I mean, this is like the first phase, and they've done this with multiple cancers, and people jump to conclusions. Oh, it's going to cure cancer. Yeah, you put Drano in a petri dish, it'll kill cancer cells. Trick is, does it keep the live cells around? That's the key. And that would be the first step. And this is something for Nate to think about, is that this is a non-polar molecule, basically, and the bloodstream is polar. And so how do you get it to the cancer site? And this is thinking from being trained in medicine, but also understanding where we are now with THC or cannabis products, basically, because that's the next thing the physician community is going to want to know. Okay, so if we're going to do this, what form is it going to be in when we put it into the body? Are you going to do a tincture? You're going to do the gut, which changes it? I mean, these are the next steps here, because when a cancer cell decides that we're no longer going to die, this is called apoptosis. And this is the problem we have with cancer cells. They're a normal cell. They keep mutating a little bit, and then all of a sudden they go, oh, well, we're not going to die now. Okay, we're going to keep living, and we're heading in a direction where we are not good for that organ or that system. And the ovaries are very, very rapidly reproducing tissue. So when you hit somebody, the platinum is what they talked about, the cisplatin and things like that, they go in and they just devastate rapidly reproducing tissues. That's why your GI tract just sloughs off, your hair falls out. Stuff like that. It will go and attack it, but it kills everything. If you can find something you could target, and that's where oncology is going with cancer treatment. Can we target it, get it to the place we need it, in the concentrations that seem to work, and in the forms that are going to attack that cancer cell? That's where a lot of research needs to go. The government has not been helpful. Okay, I mean they're trying all sorts of ridiculous goddamn things to treat cancer. When it comes to cannabis, their butt puckers up. Like, why is that? If nothing else, when Molly she got platinum for hers, for breast cancer, and this girl was horribly sick. She puked multiple times a day. And weed was helpful for that. For nothing else, they'd prescribe her Marinol. And it's like, fuck that, smoke some weed. It hits instantaneously. You can titrate to where you need to be, get to that level and stop. That's where physicians really need to be brought to. The understanding we all have about how pot is used when you're sick. That's where the medical community needs to be officially taught. And then these pharmaceutical companies need to get the green light, produce these compounds, and start playing with them.
Well, they're about
cancer is a real deal.
They're about to be greenlit today, Dale. You know what I'm saying? From this executive order, it's going to be huge.
My niece died of breast cancer. Okay. It's like, God, we watched her just perish, and it was it's called what they call triple negative. All the drugs they'd worked didn't fix her. She just withered away and died. And it's like, we got her stoned whenever we could because she was taking chemo and radiation. But would have been nice to give her more targeted therapies.
Yeah, would have been amazing, right? Man, it's
different routes of administration, ROAs. From just to drop a couple of terms, different ROAs, and depending on what you're attempting to target, different ROAs and their various bioavailabilities will essentially give you a measurement of what you're able to target with what level. And bioavailability becomes especially important in terms of cannabis because of, like Dale said, it's basically the equivalent of oil and water. They don't mix. That whole thing where you hear that cannabis attaches to your fat cells, that's fat, that's oil, right? It's because cannabis is oil soluble, not water soluble. And so it's a big deal to see routes of administration that ultimately lead to higher levels of bioavailability because not every ROA is going to lead to that. On top of that, you're going to have the liver getting in the way whenever you're putting something down your gullet, and that's going to create a metabolite that's going to act differently than potentially you were hoping Delta-9 to act. Metabolite, if it ever comes up, is 11-hydroxy THC. And so just put that in your back pocket. Furthermore, this isn't the first study I've run into which shows that equal amounts or comparable amounts of THC and CBD towards the beginning of Stone's article. This is not the first study that shows that a 1-to-1 ratio is highly effective for these reparative types of treatments. And that seems to me to be wildly worth noting, the same as I have noticed that coming up with multiple studies. I point this out not only because of how important it is to the future of therapeutic practices married with cannabis, but also because the limited amount of CBD that's out there, because so much of the industry is absolutely obsessed with getting high, whereas I don't believe we're really embracing the plant for everything that it is worth and everything that it could be bringing us. And this is, to me, an absolutely perfect example of the kind of things that are normally overlooked by the daily consumer that absolutely should be looked at and should be just globally realized by all of us, so we can say, what the hell, where's my CBD? Because that's a good thing for you. And if you've already made that leap to where you're a daily cannabis consumer, it is a very, very small degree to work additional cannabinoids that will help you live longer, as research is starting to show, into your diet, into your consumption, into your whatever. But I want to bring as much attention to that. And so using your platform in this moment simply to do that, because this is a beautiful thing. And it brings together the story so much more. It's not rewriting it. It's just giving us more information and more ammunition to show that this is the right direction to go in.
Fair.
But what they like, Nate, is they like IV. And they have to find a way to wrap this in a lipoprotein that'll deliver it to the cells. And that
it's been done pharmaceutically. I agree. I mean, I made an awesome chart. Jason, let me know if you want to feature this or show it on your Instagram or anything like that. But I made a chart of that literally measures bioavailability and helps to understand these different ROAs as it goes through. And I have it as a conceptual end to that chart where it describes intravenous as ultimately the 100% bioavailable approach that you can take / what's available. Nothing's out there. Nothing's commercially manufactured, but it has been proven. And there are pharmaceutical environments in which they have taken completely lipophilic products such as cannabis and been able to engineer them down into a water-soluble form that's readily bioavailable. In that sense, you're heavily changing cannabis and what surrounds it. But the fact of the matter is it's possible, and it pharmaceutically makes sense. Further to that, there are elements that don't generally come to mind but make a ton of sense. I have, so I work in lab environments, right? And people who choose to use cannabis are doing so usually as a last resort. We've covered that. And people who do this realize and want to do it right, realize they need to measure their dosage. And that brings them to lab testers. And so I've had the opportunity to help out people with cancer, people with epilepsy, going on and on and on in terms of directly working with these patients and their families. And I have absolutely seen somebody beat colon cancer, and they did so by a reverse entry And you can imagine they use the equivalent of a syringe.
A reverse entry, define that, because what do they mean by that?
A suppository approach.
Got it. Okay.
And
all right.
I
thought that's what you were. I thought that's what you were alluding to. I thought that's what you were alluding to. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm trying to keep it as PG as possible.
It's all good.
You know that shit.
You know what I'm saying?
Anyhow, so they ended up taking this type of approach right here, and that ended up being the most direct route of administration to a particular ailment. Again, just to loop around to the first things that Dale was saying, the ability to determine what's wrong, the ability to determine which cannabinoid cocktail, if you will, ought to be sent via what route of administration to the body is a powerful effing thing. And cannabis gives us this amazing realm of potential treatment and medication. And here we see it in real life application, and it's nothing new. It's just the next level of it.
Yeah. Fair enough. And on that, I think you stated that perfectly, Nate. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back. Great story, Stone.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Getting to certain levels, target places.
We are speaking of getting. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Nate.
I was going to say, honestly, I'm kind of okay too, Dale, with them stepping on their D and keep on pumping out ish like Sativex and Marinol and stuff, because all it, in my opinion, what it does is highlight the actual holistic-ish, complete full spectrum approach of the plant and how much more effective it is versus narrowing it down to single chemicals for the sake of pharmaceutical. Jason,
all right. So now we are going to roll. What's that, Dale?
That's what they do to patented. That's the game of the pharmaceutical industry.
That it is.
You're not wrong, man.
That's right. And we are going to roll right in to Mr. Nate Winokur. Nate was unjustly persecuted by the DCC for running a compliant lab, and they tried to say all kinds of things, and none of that shit could stick to the wall. But now Nate is working to educate the public about all the nuances within cannabis, from THC percentage and dosing limits to all types of other things. And you can find all of this education on his new platform at Teaching Bud. It is none other than Mr. Nate Winokur. Yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that warm intro, and thank you everybody for watching. My name is Nate Winokur. I run Teaching Bud, and I'm a cannabis educator and scientist, and I love the plant with all my heart. I would love to bring to you a story from our East Coast neighbors, Cannabis Science and Tech magazine. As this article states, New York State Medical Cannabis Program reports lower opioid usage. I always jump at the opportunity to be able to convey any kind of scientific, medical, or technological research that reflects the benefits of cannabis in terms of wellness. And this is hopefully starting to sound like a topic that gets repeated, because it really needs to be. This is the kind of thing everybody needs to take to gospel and understand that cannabis is absolutely fantastic for. In this particular story, it says a recently published study in JAMA International Medicine, JAMA, involving the New York State Medical Cannabis Program, reported on adults with chronic pain who participated in the program. The study was conducted by researchers from Albert Einstein College of Medicine in Bronx and Montefiore Health System. Chronic pain and opioid addiction are two of the most pressing health challenges in the United States, said Deepika E. Slawik, MD, the study's lead author, associate professor of medicine at Einstein, and an internal medicine and addiction medicine specialist at Montefiore. Our findings indicate that medical cannabis, when dispensed through a pharmacist-supervised system, can relieve chronic pain while also meaningfully reducing patients' reliance on prescription opioids. Supervised use of medical cannabis could be an important tool in combating the opioid crisis. According to the press release, 204 adults participated in the study who had been prescribed opioids for chronic pain and who had also been recently certified for medical cannabis between the period of September 2018 and July 2023. During the study, patients were monitored for 18 months, with data being collected on both the patient's cannabinoid and opioid use that was collected via the New York State Monitoring Program. Participants in the study disclosed that at the beginning, they were experiencing high levels of pain and were consuming an average daily opioid dose that is equivalent to 73.3 milligrams of morphine. During the 18-month study timeline, the average daily dose was able to decrease to 57 milligrams, which was a 22% reduction. Participants that received a 30-day supply of medical cannabis used the equivalent of 3.5 milligrams less of morphine per day than those who were not provided cannabis during the same month. Those changes may seem small, but gradual reductions in opioid use are safer and more sustainable for people managing chronic pain than stopping suddenly, Dr. Slawik noted. This research adds to the growing body of evidence supporting a medicalized model of cannabis use, where pharmacists are actively involved in dispensaries and cannabis is treated just like other prescription drugs, said Julia Arneston, MD and MPH, the study's senior author and chief of the Division of General Internal Medicine at Montefiore Einstein, and is professor of medicine, epidemiology, and population health, as well as psychiatry and behavioral services. We hope these findings will lead to new policies encouraging effective management of chronic pain through the use of regulated substances. By request of New York Governor Kathy Hochul, New York State Office of Cannabis Management's the OCM, acting executive director Felicia Reed, forcibly resigned from her position. The resignation follows after enforcement challenges of the Omnium case, which has been withdrawn. One example of OCM's handling of the case is dropping the product recall. How interesting. I would love to go further into examining what other benefits there are of marrying cannabis use with the opportunity to drive back other substance abuses that we've seen out there. On the show, we've discussed opioid use, we've discussed alcoholism, and we've discussed benefits for various types of ailments that we see people stricken with that ultimately would benefit from cannabis. Overall, this is the kind of thing that is on the light side very hopeful, and on the dark side, why have we lost so many people to the opioid crisis and potentially to certain forms of cancer through being able to ultimately exercise what's clearly a life-saving chemical and drug and plant? And why haven't we made this available to everybody? It really irks me at the end of the day when we see how much good something like this can ultimately do and what our just collective greed has allowed to happen, which ultimately has come at the price of human life and at our own loved ones. And I'm not totally cool with that. And kind of, I could go on about that forever. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Everybody, thank you for having me. Jason, thank you for having me here. And right back to you. Thank you for listening to Nate Winokur on the High at 9 News.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised by this. You know what I mean? That the opioid rates are dropping. I'm a little confused as to how they got these numbers, though, because these are numbers from people that are patients that were using opioids previously since legalization. Is that how they're determining this number?
The study, everybody entered into use at the same time. So as part of the program, you were essentially assigned this use. And now I'm not sure how somebody would have been aware of the program and what was up and coming, possibly through upcoming surgery or other medical conditions that were concerned, but it was clearly put into motion all at the same time for the sake of tracking.
Now, were they required to get their products from a licensed dispensary in New York, or could they have just gone into any old bodega?
It covered them going through medical dispensary, but I don't believe any data actually was drawn from the medical dispensaries, just from the patients and their own questionnaires.
Interesting. I mean, this is more research, right? This is what Schedule 3 is going to be doing for us. More and more research, more and more studies like this, and we'll probably have some more determining answers on some of these, on how they are gathering this type of data. But I mean, I'm not surprised at all by this, and anything that helps lower the opioid consumption rate in New York and really across the country in total, I'm in favor for it, because we are definitely having a pandemic in relation to the opioid crisis that is going on, and the over consumption and over promotion and over prescribing of opioids to Americans by our pharmaceutical industry.
I feel like there's some level of human nature and inebriation that join. And you see this happen in every society. When people, what we've seen is that, when it comes down to inebriation, when people have access to cannabis, they tend to use less harmful substances, which is fantastic, which is a fantastic reveal in my book. And in these particular cases, you see other cases where when people have access to cannabis, they die less. I mean, there are just so many absolutely positive, and even ones like this, meager stretches of evidence that we're given, and there's not one piece of well fleshed out evidence that shows that cannabis is bad for society. Not one. And that is so weird. Again, like the notion of like how it's been so commonplace for us to be treated as idiots and lied to is just, I mean, maybe it's midlife crisis, who knows? But I mean, can this just stop? Like, it feels like that element of the world wasn't put together for me. And it simply is just not giving respect to my agency and what I want, which isn't that much different than what all of you guys want. So what the F?
Well, the whole concept of medicine-assisted treatment for drug addicts is still very controversial. And the people out there who just say, don't do it, are the ones that fight against it the most. And we really don't have good studies about dopamine dumps with cannabis compared to other drugs, because it's the pleasure center in your brain that leads people to addiction. I mean, your doctor's prescribing something to you and you really don't like the medicine, but it helps your pain, you're not going to go into a substance abuse situation because you're not chasing that dopamine dump. Okay. But when you are, and you've also got chronic pain, now you got a real problem. How do we deal with that? And what we see here in California, we call it California Sober. I think I've done a
Cali Sober. Before. Yep, they do that in January.
Cannabis, and it gives you the dopamine dump or the pleasure dump in your brain that will substitute for going out and using heroin or fentanyl or crack or whatever. Especially meth. Meth is just a major dumper of dopamine. If you can get some help with that by using weed and cut down on your other drug of abuse, that should be encouraged. It's not. And that's part of the problem that we deal with here. And I think Schedule 3 would help with that if we could get there. But this whole concept of what it takes to be diagnosed with a substance abuse disorder, and if the doctor's writing the prescriptions for you, they take it out of that, but you still got the same problem because you're just taking too much of this stuff, and it really doesn't give you the kind of thinking you need to be able to work well. Where, I mean, most of the people I know who are regular consumers, I mean, you can be high and still actually think and get something done.
Right.
Okay? Just having these discussions in the medical community is hard enough. When you go out in the general public and you get somebody jump up and say, oh my God, you're trying to ruin Western civilization. It's like, yeah, sit the fuck down. People are already using heroin. They have been for a long time. Coke, meth, it's out there. Okay. Now, what are we going to do to try and make our society safer? I mean, you can blow all the ships that you want up in Colombia, but I'm telling you, coke ain't going to stop coming in this country. Neither is fentanyl until we get the demand under control. I mean, it's not, Stevie Wonder can see this. If we're not getting a demand, they're going to find a way. I mean, you can shove a lot of stuff up your ass and come in through TSA. They're going to find a way to get drugs in this country. It's just the nature of the beast. So rather than go out there and do all the stuff to stop them from importing it, work on the demand in the country. Don't make it like you're a leper if you're a drug addict. I mean, come on. I mean, a lot of people have had substance abuse problems, and you go on to a normal life. Yeah, how many alcoholics have stopped drinking and gone to normal lives? That's okay. But if you're another drug addict, oh, you're a pariah now. We just, culturally, we do not know what to do with this. And I can tell you, from the first time Molly and I started seeing people with chronic pain, when they came back to see us, they had cut down or stopped taking their Vicodin, OxyContin, and that kind of shit. They just don't want to do it anymore because weed helped with their pain, but it also would tickle the pleasure center. And they didn't want to go back to opioids. Why can't we have those discussions honestly like adult human beings? I think that's where we really need to go with this.
I'm with you. I'm with you all the way on this, Dale. All the way on this. And this is the first time I think we have had 6 stories that were all positive today. You know that, Stone? I think in the whole history of High at Night News, I think this is the first time that we've had all 6 stories that were all positive. Because I have another positive story to share to close us out with. And we may just
take us home.
Yeah, we may just get some information. So if you are in the chat, please make sure that you are subscribing to us on X and Rumble, as well as if you do see something that the president is making an announcement, let us know so we can you know what I'm saying, so we can talk about it for a moment. But I have some really, really, really good news, and Miss Leah Patrick, this story is dedicated to you. All right, I think you are gonna love this because U.S. Congress, there's bicameral legislation filed to allow marijuana use in federally assisted housing where legal under state law. Congressman Eleanor Holmes Norton, a Democrat from D.C., and Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey, introduced the Marijuana in Federally Assisted Housing Parity Act today to permit the use of cannabis in federally assisted housing, including public housing and Section 8 housing in compliance with the marijuana laws of the state, including the District of Columbia, where the property is located. Under current federal law, users of drugs that are illegal, including marijuana, are prohibited from being admitted into federally assisted housing. Federal law also allows landlords to evict residents of federally assisted housing for illegal drug use. Adult use cannabis, medical cannabis are both are currently legal in D.C. and New Jersey and 39 other states, and over 90% of Americans support legalizing medical cannabis. In a quote, individuals living in federally funded housing should not fear eviction simply for treating their medical conditions or for seeking a substance legal in their state, Congresswoman Norton said. Increasingly, Americans are changing their views on marijuana, and it is time that Congress caught up with its own constituents. With so many states improving their laws, this issue should have broad bipartisan appeal because it protects states' rights. Tenants should not be discriminated against, evicted, or denied federally assisted housing for legally using cannabis or treating a medical condition in states where it is permitted, said Senator Cory Booker. The Marijuana in Federally Assisted Housing Parity Act would end those discriminatory practices and ensure tenants are not punished for personal choices made in accordance with state law. For the last several years, Congress has prohibited the Department of Justice from using federal funds to prevent jurisdictions from implementing their medical marijuana laws, and this bill would similarly allow individuals to use cannabis in federally assisted housing in compliance with the state's cannabis laws, and would require the Department of Housing and Urban Development, better known as HUD, to develop regulations that restrict smoking cannabis in federally assisted housing and in the same manner and in the same locations as HUD restricts smoking tobacco in federally assisted housing. Wow. That is a huge win right there. And I think a lot of Republicans need to get behind this, because this is an easy win. And you can't say that that you want to help out minority class or help out individuals that are struggling or whatnot and not get behind this bill. So I'm encouraging all of my Republican friends to co-sponsor this bill alongside of them and get behind this, because I think this only makes sense. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
This is a struggle we've had with the VA.
Yeah, it is.
You can allow doctors to do these recommendations or even honestly talk with you in states where it's legal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes sense.
Right.
Will it happen?
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, why won't it happen?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm most curious about.
Yep. And OG Leah Proctor, she says, "This is huge, y'all." You like that Texas little twang, Stone?
That was good. That was good. I liked it almost as much as when you did Congresswoman Norton's voice the first time before you got to Congresswoman, and then her voice got a little higher.
Sorry. You know, I was looking to see whose quote it was, and so I didn't catch it till the end, so I apologize, but I quickly switched course as soon as I realized, you know what I'm saying, whose voice I was doing.
I'm looking forward to an article where you have to do an RFK.
I can do a RFK. Yeah. I'm sure that'll be next week. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure there'll be some HHS news in regards with how they're gonna move Schedule 3 forward in a productive, expedited fashion. Because remember, I'm willing to bet that they want to get this done before the first of the year. So then that way, the cannabis businesses can at least think that they are going to get 280E relief, and it's going to make the stocks jump again. And, you know, this is not financial advice, but that's going to be the time to sell, you guys. As soon as the drop gets up, sell. But this is not financial advice, and I'm not a financial agent. But,
this is the federal government recognizing cannabis on a level that is hopefully, the way it sounds like this is being introduced is hopefully something that gets bipartisan support. When I hear and think of it, especially in this climate of something that has bipartisan support, that means so much more. It's just, it falls into the realm of a good idea. It's too bad that this isn't more ubiquitous, as Dale mentioned, the VA, right?
Yep.
But I mean, I'll take it. I want this to be normalized. I want this to be okay-ified, and that validation, it feels good at the moment, and hopefully we see how far it'll take things. Dale, congratulations. You've built into me a very healthy further mistrust than I had of the system and the ability for it to get anything done. And so I now have newfound skepticism since I've been a correspondent on this show, to where it's like, oh, great, one more attempt that's probably going to just wash ashore somewhere. But I like that we're talking about it.
Man,
Merry Christmas.
I'm so excited, that this is happening.
Thanks again.
I can't tell you how many times I've had patients, that I've been taking care of that lived in Section 8 housing, and we're always nervous about losing their home. And that is probably one of the most stressful things that any American can deal with, is the fact that their housing could be ripped out from under them just for consuming a plan. And so I think this is super, super meaningful legislation, and I really hope to see progress on this. Like this is personally a big deal to me. I'm really behind this bill, and you know what I mean. I know I'm gonna push for it in conversations that I have with individuals as well, and encourage everybody to get behind this, because it only makes sense. And it's just the same way with the veterans issue, as you stated, Dale, too. Same thing. Like it doesn't make sense to not be allowing this. It's total ridiculous. People need to get over themselves and stop not be legislating from their own personal perspectives, but for the will of the people. And on that, it's all about we to the people.
Hopefully it starts an awesome trend, man.
Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? And apparently, in the chat, where did I see it? The Shadow 3001 says they're all waiting for President Trump to sign it at 2 p.m. So apparently that's going to happen in about a half an hour. He's going to sign this executive order, and we're going to be off to the races. And we will have more on this executive order tomorrow with the doctors. Oh, that's going to be interesting because they're. Oh boy, that's going to be super interesting. I can't wait for cover that tomorrow with these guys. Stone, you better tune in. I love it. Any final words, you guys? Any final thoughts? All right. Well, on that.
Great show. Thanks for having us.
Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show, trademarked and patented.